am Jason Myers from the band Icarus Witch, and you are listening to the Krash Kourse Metal Show, featuring Trevor Krash Knight, the next generation's voice of classic heavy metal.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Crash Course Metal Show. We got with us here our buddy Chris Elliott from 86 Bullets. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Krash, what's happening? How are you doing today?
Good, man. Definitely excited to have you on and talk some thrash metal. That is kind of our wheelhouse that we like to talk about when we bring Chris on. Thrash and traditional metal, but certainly we're talking about at least my favorite thrash band. I'm not sure about Chris, but I'm sure Dave Mustaine and Megadeth is one of his favorites. But can you kind of just tell us a little bit about you and Megadeth as far as you growing up with Megadeth?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't really get into them until a little bit later on. Actually, the first band that was that me and my friends and all that because of course we grew up during this era. So in the early '80s was Metallica for sure. You know, they were the ones that just blew us all away and they were the band. And there was other bands, obviously we'd heard of Anthrax and heard of Megadeth. Megadeth came a couple years later, obviously. But, I didn't really pick up on them too much. I actually got into Metallica first, then it was Slayer.
Okay.
And it took a while. I didn't really listen to too much Megadeth until I would say even after Peace Sells. It was sort of more like, when the Big Four thing happened and all that. And, I actually, let me think. The first album that I may have bought, this is going to sound crazy, but was probably Peace Sells. Not Peace Sells, Rust in Peace.
Okay.
Got my pieces all messed up there.
Definitely, Megadeth is one of the latecomers. Latecomers when you're talking about the Big Four. But then you could argue Dave Mustaine was a part of Metallica, helped create Metallica, helped form Metallica, give them that Kill 'Em All sound, and so then obviously he got kicked out or left, whichever way you want to throw whatever term you want to throw at that. But so there's a little bit of a lag behind here as the Megadeth being created and the first album being released, and that first album is going to be Killing Is My Business. So we are doing a four squared here. We are doing Killing Is My Business. We are doing also their third album. So far, so good. So what? And I believe their 10th album from 2004, The System Has Failed, and then one of their most recent ones, and that is going to be Dystopia as well. So, Chris, can you we're going to go in chronological order here. So can you kind of tell me a little bit about Killing Is My Business?
And I brought my copy just to coincide with yours. This is the original artwork, which they apparently hated. Totally. The one you have is the one I believe that Dave had actually made sketches of and they wanted to originally use, but they apparently had lost his sketches and then they had to go with this abomination. and it is pretty funny. But I actually
is that an original copy there, Chris?
I don't think so, because remember I got into them pretty late, so it is Combat Records.
Okay.
I can't read the small print. The eyes aren't that good anymore. And actually, it's a little blurry. But you know what? No, it's not, because it doesn't have these boots on it.
Okay.
Last Rites is the last no, Mechanics is the last song.
Okay,
so this was probably the mid 90s. Didn't they? I think they took off these boots around the mid 90s, I believe, because Dave was complaining that, was it Lee Hazelwood, the original writer, had taken all the royalties for years, and then finally decided to sue him or whatever, or cease and desist, and they had to take it off the album. And he was angry, kind of upset that, well, why, all these years you were getting royalties and you didn't say anything about it. So I think this is probably one of the, and that makes sense, because I would have probably bought this somewhere in the mid 90s, I would guess, going back to their old, back catalog.
Right. And then this one here is the 2002 reissue, with the different
Mhm.
artwork, with Dave's original artwork, I guess you would say. Um, but yeah, definitely. I I'd never heard the original like production of it. I only ever heard the like this pressing. So like you could really argue that it totally sounds different compared to the remastered version or reissue version to the original. Any thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, I was actually going to compare them, but I just didn't get around to it, or I
Okay.
forgot, or got into other things. But I'll have to get back to. From what I recall, it's definitely. I mean, it's not the greatest sounding. It was. The story on that. They spent half the money on drugs and booze, and they had to fire the producer because they couldn't, you know, hire anybody to do the record because they had spent it all, and they ended up doing it themselves. So, it definitely has a lot to be desired that way. But a lot of those old thrash and even like the early black metal and all that, they had bad production, but it was kind of part of what made the charm of it. It gave it that ambiance or whatever to it. So, uh, again, I'll have to revisit this one. Actually, the one I listened to was the one you have. The the mine is, I believe, that the one that came out maybe 2014 or something. There was another remaster version of that. No, it actually 22 or something. It
Yeah,
wasn't
I
too
think
long.
it's 2018 possibly because I did see something
Yeah.
about a 2018 reissue.
It was
It's called Kill. It's
it was
called
the
Kill 'Em
latest one. Yeah.
or something. Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks like yours, but it's
Okay,
not in a plastic pack. It's in one of the digi packs, I believe. But
okay.
it's does yours have live cuts on it and stuff?
No, it just has
Okay.
3 extra demo tracks.
Oh, because mine has like a whole lot, like all the songs are on there, live versions of it
Okay,
from that tour, that era. So,
gotcha. All right.
um,
Is
yeah,
there any tracks here, Chris, that like really kind of jump out? Because like what you said, like it does have a very raw sound to it, but you could argue like the first three Megadeth albums are kind of in the same vein when it comes to that kind of production. But is there anything that really kind of like stands out to where like you're like, okay, yeah, this is something different. Like Dave Mustaine has something here.
well, I tell you what, the overall, and it was interesting because listening to all these albums were from different eras. They're kind of spread out for the most part. There wasn't too much for the '90s represented, but I tell you what, the first record is so aggressive, and you
Mm-hmm.
can feel it. Like it tells you like how much that emotion and music go together, because it's not like the the best played. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes on it. The guitars are sloppy, like the lead guitars, and the sound is brutal. Um, but you know what? It's like you just kind of look beyond it. Like all the songs are really good, but it's got this aggression, and you could. It's almost like you can feel how pissed off Dave was at Metallica. Like what did he say? He wanted blood, and it was theirs, that he
Mm-hmm.
wanted or something. But you can really feel it, and I don't know that you can like kind of recreate that. There's a lot of bands have trouble with that. They get older, and especially when they get rich and famous, and they have no worries like they had before. They're not struggling to find their next meal. It's like really
Mm-hmm.
hard. Like Metallica has had a hard time, and they still have a hard time with that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to really, I guess, find ways around it and find other ways to be relevant and to be good. But yeah, I think that the aggression on this record is just so palpable. You can just feel it, and so that's what strikes me about it.
Okay. Yeah, and I kind of agree with you because, like, I there's some of that to the next album we're going to talk about. So far, so good, so what? But I think they do it a hell of a lot better on this record compared to uh, what I previously said the third album. But as far as like songs go, like I I remember I bought this album when I was like late teens or whatever, like when I was getting into Megadeth, and like I liked it, but it certainly wasn't my favorite, and it's still not my favorite Megadeth records. I barely get back to it. I barely revisit it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're like bad songs, like because you do have technically 8, I guess, well, one with a cover with these boots, and but like the song Mechanics is like Dave said, okay, you're gonna take my songs from Metallica, you're gonna take my songs like the Four Horsemen and such, and I'm gonna just almost do it all over again with Mechanics. So like it sounds just like a lot of stuff from Kill 'Em All, but one could argue maybe better than Kill 'Em All. I don't know about that. That might be another discussion for a different time, Chris. But like Last Rites, Love to Death, I love the piano intro to the album. I think it really sets the mood. And then once you get into Love to Death, just it matches both those worlds really, really good. Title track's good. Skull Beneath the Skin has a really cool groove to it. Looking Down the Cross, I think, is like one of the most unique kind of songs, maybe for Megadeth, but also for just this album in general. Just lyrically, I really like how that one really stands out. But overall, they're like, it's a fine album, but we'll have to see where it goes in ranking the rest of these 4, though.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Any thoughts?
mostly agree. Mechanics was Dave also said that he made sure he played it faster than Four Horsemen. Yeah. It's always about the speed and the aggression.
Yeah, especially early in the thrash era too. Like that was very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, credential wise and everything, especially obviously trying to stick it to Metallica.
Mhm.
This like, and to your point, just aggressive as all hell. Like Slayer, maybe have to take a step back seat here real quick and let Dave kind of spread his wings and get the aggression out.
Well, I think Slayer got more aggressive the next year for
Rain and Blood.
Rated Blood because that was super aggressive.
Mhm.
So I think maybe these bands were all listening to each other, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they took cues from what was come before. They probably heard this. Okay, well, we got to step it up a notch.
Yeah. And to your point, because Slayer at the time already had their debut, already had Hell Awaits came out this year, and that was really starting to, like, you could really tell Slayer was starting to be like grow into their own, if you will, to what you would hear in the next year with Rain and Blood. So, but yeah, that's a good point though. But yeah, if we're done saying our piece here for Killing Is My Business, we can jump on to the third album, and that is So Far, So Good, So What. Anything you want to say about this for 1988?
Yeah, well, they had a new guitar player again, right? Jeff Young. Chris Poland was canned along with Gar Samuelson, I believe, with apparently over the drug use and all that.
Right.
Although I think they were all pretty heavily into drugs, so I'm not sure how that all works out. But anyway, the as far as the sound, like the songs, I mean, again, you got a similar thing going on with Killing in My Business, and then this one. In the production is not the greatest, They actually had a producer for this, I believe. Mixed by Michael Wagner, produced by Paul Lanny. I actually saw a video or interview with him. It was pretty interesting talk. He did Peace Cells also, which I think is a little better sounding.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds better than the first album, but it's definitely pretty raw. I think generally all the songs are good. They're all strong. I mean, should they have done another cover song like as the third song? I mean, it's that's to me again, I sort of take points away for cover songs. I really do. I mean, I know why bands do them, but it's like sometimes give me one of your songs, give me your original song. I mean, you can play that live if you want, or put it on an EP. So I don't know. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it sounds fine, but it's just I'd rather hear a Megadeth original. All the other songs are good. I mean, In My Darkest Hour might be one of their best tracks. I mean, hard to beat that one. I was watching a Chris Poland interview on the David Ellison show, which I've been watching some of his stuff, is pretty good. He talks about the song Liar, and that apparently that's about him. And Dave used to call him out at shows all the time. And he says he thinks that hurt his career early on, like getting endorsements and jobs and stuff, because David trashed him so bad. And
Okay.
I mean, who knows? I don't know what the truth is and all that, or if he was a liar, if he wasn't, if he sold all the instruments and the gear for drugs. That was the rumor.
Mhm.
I mean, who knows? But it's a good song though. They're all actually, again, they're all good. I just don't know, having the cover song, the third, and it's an okay cover. It's not like a great, it's Sex Pistols. I mean, it's a good song, I guess, but I don't know about a third.
Mhm.
If they're really ambitious, they could have done a song like Bodies, or like some really radical Sex Pistols. This one's a
Right.
little more mundane, middle of the road, I
Yeah. Yeah.
guess, is what it is. But other than that, I think it's really good. I think Jeff Young did a pretty good job, taking. I mean, it's really hard. Like it's funny, for years I never knew who played what solo. I still don't. One of these days I'm gonna actually. I'm sure it's online somewhere. I gotta, like, the first record. I'm listening to see, so which one is Dave and which is Chris, because they both play so different. I
Mhm.
can hardly tell, just because the production's so bad. It's like it's all kind of noise and all this, and it's funny because for years I didn't think Chris Poland. I was like, oh, he's all right, he's serviceable or whatever. But and then I heard Return to Metropolis, or his solo record, and
Mhm.
he's amazing. Like
Yeah.
Chris Poland he's up there. He's like a really good guitar player, and I had to hear his solo stuff to be really, like, really focus on his playing, because I didn't really even hear it even on Peace Cells. Like, yeah, he's good, but yeah, he's a little better than good, I think.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway, but he's, and again, he's on the next record that we're going to talk about too. But yeah, I think that there's some good solos on this, and Jeff Young, he does a fine job. But yeah, that was his only record. Of course, getting Marty Friedman to take his place, I don't think anybody's going to complain about that, because you know that was
Yeah. I agree. I agree,
yeah.
but this is an album I could never really get into, Chris. So if you're lukewarm on it, I'm gonna set this ablaze. Okay, so I do not care for this record. Now, over the years, I will say there are a couple songs that I do uh, like. Just from sitting with it for like over 15 years now, like there are some things I do kind of like about this record, but still, this is like one of my lowest ranked, I would have to say, Megadeth albums. But I will say there are a couple standouts. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple standouts here. In My Darkest Hour, like you said, absolutely amazing song. Kills anything on this record, and one of Megadeth's probably better songs, especially like it just feels like an anti-ballad a little bit. Not that it's I would say a ballad, it doesn't sound like that, but it's just slower pace, mid pace, great fast solo. Like they speed up in the solo section. Really, really good stuff there. But I am in 100% agree with you. Anarchy of the UK, get that shit out of here. I don't want to hear that. Like I don't care. I don't care for the Sex Pistols. So like there's that side of it too. And like Dave, come on, man. Like I know you can write a song. Just give us another song. I know you had demos sitting around somewhere. Like, come on. Like, God, I know the drugs are rampant here.
Everyone around here is on crack, if you haven't noticed.
That's a part of some of the reasoning as to why this record really lacks. At least with, like I said, with the debut, it sounds similar, but like the fire was really there, I think, on the debut. Like Dave was out to kill. And with this, like they kind of tasted success a little bit with P cells. And then obviously drugs are getting worse. So like, and you got new guitar player coming in. You have a like there's just no continuity here on this record then. I think everything is against it. Like Mary Jane's a fine song as well. Like that's another song that I do really like off this record. Liar's just okay. Hook and Mouse just okay. Into the Lungs of Hell, I don't know. the first 3 tracks here, to your point, Chris, Into the Lungs, The Veil, Set the World Afire, and Anarchy of the UK. I'm kind of losing interest by this point, and I hate saying that about Megadeth, one of my favorite bands of all time. And it's just like, once you do start getting going on this record, the record's over then, in my opinion. Like, oh, here's a good song. Okay, good. And then here comes 502. Okay, I'm out again here now. So like, and then you pick up with the last 3 tracks, which is really good. So, and then the record's over. So I don't know. I just can't really get into it. Now, this record did end up being certified platinum. But obviously, that's coming off the back of Peace Sells and just how big Megadeth has gotten over the years as well, throughout the years, and just I don't know. There's something about this record I just don't. And then you have Vic as like a real life form here, and to me, it doesn't really work. I didn't even know it was Vic up until about like 5-10 years ago, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's Vic, real life Vic. That's cool, whatever. Nothing works on this record, Chris, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, I disagree slightly. Like I said, I think I like all the songs, but again, I don't think I think we agree the cover song is probably misplaced. I do like the Sex Pistols, though. I dig them, but I don't know. And Megadeth does a fine version, but I just don't think it's a good spot, especially at track number 3. Like, at least on the first album, These Boots was the last song. I'm pretty sure, at least it is on my version.
Mm-hmm.
You can, when you put something last, at least it's a lot easier to skip. It's just last. So you're
on Peace Sells, it was I Ain't Superstitious, which is actually a good cover. I like what they did with that song. But to your point, it's near the end though too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think you should put all your weakest stuff. Well, I don't know, though. There's another thing to be said is end the album with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a good song to end it, then you leave people with that good impression. So, I don't know, maybe second to last or something. I don't know. But there's this, the whole sequencing thing is a whole art into itself right there,
Mm-hmm.
So you only work with what you got. And but like you said, I mean, you would think Dave would have another song up his sleeves. I mean, he was prolific then. I mean, if you come off an album like Peace Sells, like they're rolling pretty good. They're really creating. So you would think there'd be something else that would be, they could replace it with. I don't think it'd be that difficult.
Yeah, I agree. So that is kind of our piece, I guess, for So Far, So Good, So What. Chris, now we are kind of skipping the 90s here, and we are going to The System Has Failed from 2004. This is kind of, if you will, Megadeth's comeback to form. Now, although they did have an album out in 2001, 2002, The World Needs a Hero, which I absolutely love that record. But it wasn't necessarily back to form, a lot of people would say. Better than Risk, but not thrashy like you would think of Megadeth. And a lot of people say that System Has Failed is kind of back to form. What do you think about this album, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. It starts off as good as you could probably start off a record. The first 3 songs just, I think it suffers a little bit in the middle, like where it's not. I mean, if you start off that good, you're ready for everything to be that good. I mean, the Scorpion was actually I believe that was one of the singles, but
it was, yeah.
It's got a pretty cool chorus, but the verse is kind of, I don't know, kind of not the greatest or something. There's something about it just kind of bothers me. Tears in a Vial's okay. I know Jack is just sort of a whatever, a little instrumental thingy. Back in the Day is pretty good, I think. I mean, the rest of it, I mean, these are good songs, but I don't think they're great. And then you end up with, I mean, again, you don't come back to what you started off with. I think that's, and you know what's funny is I think I bought this album when it came out in 2004. And when I went to listen to it again, recently for this, I listened to the whole song and I realized I don't think I ever listened to this whole CD. Like I didn't know the last like 3 or 4 songs. I was like, so I went back in the day when I listened to this, I probably like listened to the first half and then took it out and put something else in. And I think I just, kind of got bored or whatever. And I didn't really listen to the end. I mean, there's some pretty good stuff at the end. Um, but I think in the middle there, I might've been, oh, whatever. And, let's go on and listen to something else. But, yeah, but they definitely, recreate some of the old magic here. I mean, I don't think they ever get back what they had when they came out of the gate kicking and screaming, but they do have some moments that get real close, like Kick the Chair, the first song. I mean, pretty brutal stuff. Great riffs. The other thing is too, I was noticing they had some pretty amazing drummers in this band. In fact, this album was somebody I didn't even know. I guess I was reading up on it, but Vinny Colaiuta, I think is how you say it. But
Yeah.
he's one of the best drummers, and he's like a jazz fusion rock guy. Like I think he's played with Frank Zappa and people like that. It's like totally not like thrash metal, but he's like amazing. I mean, you can't really tell me. You would think it's like just some thrash drummer, but like he's just like unbelievable.
Now wouldn't you say Chris Poland kind of has a jazzy influence as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Gar did too. So that's a good point.
Okay.
They Gar Samuelson and Chris Poland were in like jazz guys, kind of. I mean, it's hard to imagine, but that was sort of their thing. I'm sure they were metalheads too, but they also were influenced by jazz. And so it's interesting because Chris Poland is back on this album, plays most of the leads, I believe, and you kind of have a jazz influenced drummer. But it definitely works because it's a really good record, and I think it's a great return to form here.
Yeah. I am in agreement with you, Chris, and I'll probably go one above you. I absolutely love the cover art. It's like one big picture here of the world failing basically, and Vic's kind of selling it out, if you will. Classic Vic. But this was actually the first Megadeth record I ever bought. Because technically I guess I might have bought the greatest hits that came out a year after this first, but obviously that's not a studio album. So, but this is the first like studio album, and I've been a fan ever since, Chris. 2005, and it does hold a special place in my heart. But I think it's still strong now. Like I listened to it the past 20 years or so, and I think it's just as good, if not better, than it was when it came out. Now, like you mentioned, the first 3 tracks, yes, very back to form. Blackmail the Universe, Kick the Chair, very heavy, heavier than anything Metallica was doing at this time. Okay, I'll throw that out there, and to the point of because Dave did kind of go into the mellow phase, if you will, with Risk, Cryptic Writings, and then even beforehand with The World Needs a Hero, which I think there's some heavy stuff, a couple heavy songs on there, but overall not this. But there's some good stuff on System Has Failed as far as what could be played on mainstream though too, but with an edge. Nothing mainstreamy like Risk. But I think, because like you said, Of Mice and Men could be played on radio and not really people would be like, oh, that's way too heavy. But no one would say, oh, that's like soft rock either, just like mainstream rock. The Scorpion, I really enjoy that song. That was always one of my favorite ones on here. One of my favorites on here, ever since I had this, was Truth Be Told. I think that's like a really good deep cut on this record and just in the Megadeth catalog. Mice and Men, I think we did say was a single as well. There were 3 total singles off here: The Scorpion, Of Mice and Men, and then Die Dead Enough, which is kind of a really cool like a not an oxymoron, but like just one of those sayings where it's like you never hear like something Dave would come up with, like it's just like one of those titles that Dave would come up with. So, but overall though, I do think this is one I do go back and visit a decent amount, and not just because of memories and of my teenage years and such, but just because I think it does hold up to some of the other stuff from the mid to late 2000s that would come out after this as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much my piece on the system has failed. Anything now, because they were on Sanctuary here for this record, and they only did 2 albums off Sanctuary, I believe, the one prior to this and this one. And I think after that they went to Roadrunner, if I'm not mistaken, for the next like couple albums or so. But yeah, Chris, pretty much said my piece for this album. Do you want to go to Dystopia, or do you have finishing thoughts on The System Has Failed?
No, I think we covered everything on that one.
So 2016, we come to find out that Dave is releasing Dystopia. And this actually did go number 3 on the top
That's
200
also
Billboard chart.
It's also a continuous back cover to front cover thing.
Yes, it is. And I actually do kind of like this. This cover works better, in my opinion, than So Far So Good. So What, when you're trying to make Vic look like real. But then again, we are talking like 30 years difference, so I'll cut some slack there. But this record did reach number 3 in the top 200 Billboard charts when it came out, which is absolutely awesome for 2016 for a thrash band or a very heavy metal band. I think that was actually the highest charting album since Countdown to Extinction in 1992, which is crazy to think about. But overall, the like critical reception was pretty well for this record. I know we kind of said it a couple times, like a return to form, but a lot of people throw this record, Dystopia, as a true like thrash return to form. Any thoughts on this record, Chris?
Yeah, again, this is another one where you have great guitar and great drumming, which you've got Kiko, he says Laurearo. I'm terrible with some of these names. Great shredder. And the drummer's Chris Adler, I believe, from what's that band? I should know this. I've seen
Lamb of God.
Lamb of God, yeah. Like he's he's like amazing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what's that one song is caught my attention where Dave's got this riff or something like that, and then like Adler's like following him on the bass drum. It's like so cool. They've always had amazing drummers too. The guy they currently the one on the last record's really good, you know. So anyway, the playing is amazing. The production's great. You can say that about the last two. This one, System Has Failed even. It's funny because you see how much the production and the quality is like way up here compared to the 80s stuff. Technology and of course having a budget for a little bit more, better.
And no drugs.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I would think so. I don't know. Was Dave totally clean? What's his story? Usually they go back and forth with that kind of stuff. But
he's cleaner than he was in the 80s. We'll just say that.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like this record, I think it suffers though a little bit more so than even System Has Failed. When you get to like kind of the middle to the end is like, I don't know, there's not like a whole lot of memorable stuff in there as much. Threat Is Real is great, right? Dystopia, like it kind of gets off to a really good start. To me, like it's in kind of middling toward the middle, I guess is that a word? And then, there are some great riffs though, like I mentioned, amazing riffage. And you get to the end. Actually, I think it ends pretty strong. The Emperor is pretty good. That's catchy. That actually rings in my head. The Emperor Has No Clothes and all that. And Foreign Policy, that may be one of their better cover songs they've done. I mean, as far as I think it sounds great. I actually just thought it was one of theirs until I, read the liner notes. It's like
I did too.
Cover or something. I wasn't familiar with that band, so I just okay, this is a cool song. It's got and it's catchy too. Foreign Policy. It's got the hear in my head.
Dave makes it his own, like with this song. Like
Yeah. It's great. So I think it's got this bell curve thing going, or like backward. Yeah, like where you're up here and then you kind of down and you kind of end strong kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I don't know. That's the way I see it anyway.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you, but there's only like 3 songs that I don't really care for. But overall, like I like the rest of the album. But is it like their strongest of the modern era? I probably wouldn't say yes. Like I don't think it's not an album I necessarily go back to that much. Not that it's bad, because to your point, like there's some really memorable stuff here. Riffs certainly wise, but then again, that's with a lot of Megadeth stuff. Like you come for the riffs. Um, but like the threat is real was a single, music video as well. They also had a couple others here. They had 4 total. The threat is real, Fatal Illusion, Dystopia, and Post American World. Which that song is just okay in my opinion. I think they could have found a better single off of this record. But like we said, Poisonous Shadows, I love that. It's weird because like the song itself, I actually had to grow into liking that song. But like that beat and with those drums and everything, like the drumming, like to your point, the drumming on here does save some stuff, save some songs on here. But Conquer or Die is kind of a cool instrumental, I think. Like it's decent. Lion in State. Foreign Policy, to your point, Dave makes that his own. Like Dave says, you're gonna enjoy this song. You're gonna enjoy me singing this song or yelling in your ears to finish off the record. I think it's actually a really good album closer, to your point of it makes you kind of want to go back, or just even it concludes the mood, if you will, from this record, because it does kind of sound like what this record looks like and on the back of the artwork and such. But yeah, everyone sounds good, and to your point, the production's fine. Kind of sounds like a production of 2016, if you will, and
Yeah.
I think it is. I do kind of agree with people when they say it is kind of like the thrashiest Megadeth record uh since the modern era, and I think I kind of do agree with that. Any thoughts? Like, is there another record from since 2000 that Megadeth was heavier or more thrashier on?
I can't really comment on that too much because there's a gap in my knowledge. That's why when we talked about doing which records we're going to do, I mentioned there's some ones that I haven't even heard yet. I got to go back and do a deep dive, and I will. I just didn't. There's some I haven't even heard. Like I don't think I've heard Super Collider or Risk or even The World Needs a Hero.
Okay.
It's just I'm not the best fan, I guess. I said, I got into, well, I did, it was sort of sporadic for me. It was Peace Cells, and then, sorry, did it again. Rest in Peace, and then Counted Extinction. Then I went, bought all the back albums. Euthanasia came out, got that right away. Then I lost interest for a little bit. I think, well, Cryptic Writings came out, and I didn't get that. I liked the song Trust when it came out, but I didn't really buy the record for some reason. I don't know, and then I kind of didn't get back into them until the System Has Failed.
Okay.
It was probably, I think I remember back then, remember there was not, this is kind of pre or early internet. So it wasn't like a lot of, online, like you couldn't go to YouTube or anything and preview any of this stuff. But I would read a lot of reviews, like in magazines and so forth, and sometimes that would ignite me to get back. Like for example, I probably read a review at the time of The System Has Failed, and it was something to the effect of Megadeth returns to form. They're back to their thrashy sound, and that's probably why I went out and got it.
Yeah.
Like it's just like that's how I was, and probably Risk came out and it was probably, I'm just guessing because that's how I would be back then. I would have read articles and reviews, and it was probably somebody, this album sucks, they're not heavy anymore, that kind of thing. And I was probably like, I don't want that. I want them to be heavy. That's like the same with Metallica. I didn't get Load or Reload for years I mean, I have them now just as, I mean, I don't hate them. Like there's some good stuff on there, but back then I was like, no, I want them to be thrashy and heavy. I don't want them, Black Album was one thing. I don't want you going backwards, like, going to a rocks. I was, one of those confused fans at that time. So I think Megadeth, same thing. I would have bought that. And then I probably, got lost interest, got into other bands or whatever. And then finally Dystopia, I don't know. I just sort of ended up, oh, let's get this. Cause I, became, I know Kiko was a good guitar player, and, I probably was, just on a whim was like, oh, let's get the new Megadeth. And for some reason I didn't get the ones before that. So I have no idea why, because I like Chris Broderick a lot. He was a great shredder, but I don't have any of the records of Megadeth with him. I have all his other stuff. What was the one he came out when he left Megadeth? It was I can't remember the name of it, but it was almost like a solo album, and he had, so he had some other stuff. I have those records, but I don't have any of them stuff he played on Megadeth. So it's really weird. So I have a very convoluted history with Megadeth.
So yeah, you got some homework then to do, huh, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. I got to listen back to some of these records.
All right. So with the 4 that we have here today, Chris, can you give me your number 4?
Yeah, and I'll preface it by saying this was really hard for me because I kind of actually like all of these in ways, and they're the quality it's not like that far off for me. I'm for you. I know one album might be, but I know for me it's not that far. So I had really had a tough time. It's like splitting hairs, but number 4 is actually for me would be Dystopia.
Okay. Interesting. That I wasn't actually expecting Dystopia to be your number 4.
Well, that might have the best playing on it.
Okay. All right. So my number 4 is going to be, yes, so far so good. So what? Yeah. I mean, it's still good album when you compare it to a lot of other stuff, but to Megadeth standards, I just never get back to it. So that is why In My Darkest Hour almost saved it a spot. But that alone just can't save a whole full-length album. So there we go. That's my number 4, Chris. What is your number 3?
My 3 is your 4. I believe it's the this one. So far so good. So what? One quick comment about all these records and even the modern ones is that, we always talk about the less songs, the easier chance it's going to have of being a great record, right? Because you have less chance for filler and more killer. And it's funny, but even these ones from the modern era, they don't have a ton of songs like that. I think they're like 48 minutes and 50 respectively, maybe like that. I mean, that's not like crazy. Like some of the records are like 72 minutes and stuff. So, they're not even super long, but they do have kind of a lot of tracks. They think Dystopia has like 12, and I think this one might have, I don't know, I didn't count them, but it's got 12 or 13 tracks too. So anyway,
but they're not double sided CDs or vinyl either, like some other bands in the thrash.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, they kept it to one CD for sure.
Yes, that's a big plus in our book, Chris, from what we talked about the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is actually gonna have to be the debut, Killing Is My Business. And like I said, it's not necessarily because like this is actually kind of hard for me now after number 4. But I just think Killing Is My Business, the debut, they did everything better than what they did on So Far So Good So What, and it to me kind of sounds very, very similar. And Killing Is My Business, the debut is just, to me, if I'm going to choose one production to listen to like that, it's going to be the debut, not their third album. So, Chris, give me your number 2.
Okay, so my number 2 is The System Has Failed.
All right.
So just as we talked about before, it's really good. A little bit of meandering toward the middle and toward the end. Doesn't end as super strong as it could have, I guess. But but there's some really good stuff on there, and there's some great playing. Dave and Chris and the drummer Vinny, they're all great.
Yeah. That's actually a little higher than I thought you were going to be putting that record. So I'm happy to see it at number 2. So my number 2 is going to be Dystopia. I actually I obviously remember in 2016 when this came out, but I think it might have been did you get your vinyl through the CD when you bought the CD? It
I
was like
think
at
so.
Target, I think.
Yeah, it was like it was the best deal ever too.
Yeah.
Was it like a free album where like you buy the CD or something crazy?
Yeah, if you buy the CD, you just go online and put your code in, and they send you a copy of the vinyl.
That I remember. Yeah, I did. I have a vinyl copy too, but
yeah,
I tried finding it, but I was like, it's going to take me 20 minutes. But yeah, I think it's still sealed too. Did you open your? I didn't even open mine.
I did because I did. Yes, I was young, and I just was like, oh, this is actually like one of my first records, actually, like vinyl, because I was always a CD guy, and I was like, all right, if they're gonna give me a free record, then fuck yeah, I'm gonna take it. But like, then after this, I kind of started the record collection, then vinyl collection. So, but yeah, this is my number 2. This actually surprised me, Chris, as far as where it was going to be put on this ranking. Because I don't really visit this record that much to put it at number 2, you would think, but that just tells you something about the previous 2 that we ranked. So, Chris, give me your number 1 here now.
Well, I think my process of elimination is a surprise. I got the debut there, going into this, I didn't expect to say this. Like when I went back to review all these, I didn't think this. I thought it might be in the middle, 2, 3, something like that. And I was listening to it. I was like, okay, this is what wins me over. Like to me, all the songs are good. Actually, I almost didn't put this first because of these boots. Really, but they sound okay doing it. And then this one it's not on like a lot of the versions anyway. I forgave him for that. I don't know, but I just think I think every song is really good. Like it's catchy and they're heavy and they're fast and they're brutal and like everything you'd expect. The playing is a little sloppy, but it kind of adds like the character to it. It's just so it almost feels rushed, but in an aggressive, violent kind of way. I don't know. It's like I just don't think you can recapture. I think it's just they captured some magic of the times where Dave was, where his head was at, and with the Metallica thing. It's just like it kind of sums everything up. So I just think that the songs being like so good, I just like overlooked, production and some of the faults with the sound and things like that. But that was a surprise for me, but I just I'm just going to put it first because I don't find like any bad songs. Like the other ones, like, well, they're not bad songs, but they're not great songs. But like, I think every song on here is like an A or a B plus type of song. So
yeah. And to your point, the production does give it the charm on these songs as well. Because like the production doesn't give the charm to So Far So Good So What songs, in my opinion. But like there's like to your point, there's something to the rawness on this record that really helps elevate those songs on the record. So I'm with you on that. But that's cool because that album does have a little special place in my heart as well. But my number 1, Chris, is going to be System Has Failed. Where it all started, basically, for me. And I still visit that record at least a couple times a year out of my own free will. And just, I think the songs are just strong in general. And I always, not always, but like sometimes I do forget that Chris came back for an album or two, to help Dave a little bit. And during that early reformation, if you will, of Megadeth in the early 2000s. And, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. It's just my number 1. I just like to I visit that, especially out of all of these 4. I certainly visit the most, obviously. But yeah, that is going to be my number 1. Anything? Any final words on these 4 albums here, or just on Megadeth? Actually, let's close this here. I want your opinion on this. Dave and Megadeth's retirement. Any thoughts?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, there is something to that. Like, I mean, there's how many bands have retired and then they actually don't, and they come back. So
Yeah.
Until it actually happens, and then even when it happens, a year or two later, they might be, hey, we're doing another tour.
Yeah, so, kind of like Slayer. Yeah.
Right,
like
with Motley Crue.
Yeah.
You could Kiss. It's like, as far as if they do this, their last albums, it's got a burning Vic on it, right? Like it's kind of like a funeral for Vic or something.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do that and then they tour and then that's it, I'll give them mad props for doing that. A lot of respect to do it. Then just don't come back. If you say you're not going, just
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could do like Dave Mustaine solo. I mean, kind of Megadeth anyway.
Right? Revitalize MD45, the solo project that he did like in the late 90s or early 2000s.
I wasn't aware of that. Yeah. I mean, it would probably sound like Megadeth.
Yes.
Yes, I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know. I think, I'm guessing the album is going to be really good. I hope so. You don't want to end on a,
no.
crappy record. Although the last record was really good, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to be, in my opinion anyway, like, I don't really think there's a bad Megadeth record. Like, I mean, obviously Megadeth's one of my favorite bands, so I guess I can't really, I'm a little biased, if you will. But, man, I mean, you could do a lot worse than some of these albums here, for a band. So, kind of like what we say with the Iron Maiden type deal, like most bands would kill for a Maiden or a Megadeth worst record.
Right. Give me their worst album. We'll take it any day, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, guys, let us know in the comments what you think of these 4 albums. Give us your ranking. And Chris, can you please tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. It's ChrisElliottGuitar.com. 2 L's, 2 T's, and all my socials are up there. Videos, information, all that good stuff. Live appearances. I just reminded myself I need to update that. I'm slacking. Note to self, do that next 24 to 48. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right. Good deal, Chris. Thank you so much for coming on and talking some thrash metal with us. Love it.
Yeah, man.
All right, brother. All right, guys. Until next time, that is Chris from 86 Bullets and all of his solo projects. I'm Krash. If you guys enjoyed this 4 squared, check out the other one right above Chris's head right there.
Yeah, I wrote that. It's called I Want to Rock Your Body. And then in parentheses it says to the break of dawn.